how do you keep, regenerative agriculture? How do you protect the environment while at the same time you have to produce not just what we are producing now, but more food and more nutritious food. And the issue of protein, the need for more protein, was also mentioned by Minister Krishna Bairagowda, and said how are we going to get enough, not just calories, but protein to feed our population. So that was the scientific, technological, and practical challenge of, and that's what I think that many of the speakers also addressed. But then the other aspect that he raised, which is very important and has been very important for us at the foundation, is the issue of farmers' welfare and well-being. And I think this afternoon's session on climate change also, I think the speakers sort of all agreed that for countries like India and maybe many other developing countries today, the issue really should be, and the focus should be on development, of course, sustainable development, and on well-being of people. And we also heard from Yashvi, the IUCN WHO framework on biodiversity and health, and the fact that these are also interlinked. We hear a lot of talk about One Health. Now it's become quite a buzzword, but various people interpret One Health in different ways, and One Health is actually very broad and all-encompassing, and so you could sometimes get lost if you really try to picture it very holistically. And so a lot of times the One Health is interpreted as almost the same as pandemic prevention, which is let's do surveillance for diseases of animals, plants, humans, and it should be collaborative, it should be integrated so that we prevent the type of pandemic we just witnessed with COVID. So that is, of course, one aspect, because there are emerging pathogens and many zoonotic diseases, and so we need to keep a much better eye on that and build the capacity to do this, and also respond, not just find out the outbreaks, but respond to them very quickly. But there are many other aspects of One Health, and the one that's related to us really is around food security, I think, and which includes, of course, livestock, fisheries, as well as agriculture on land. So the health and well-being of our plants and animals is going to be very important for human health. So I think in this session, really what we're trying to do is also to maybe have a more global view on things, not just for India, but because we have very eminent speakers in this session who work at the global level. There's a lot of discussion today also on whether the global governance of our food systems has really been effective, and whether there are alternatives to what is happening today. And again, we heard a lot of data on the fact that the number of hungry people in the world today is not reducing, and on the other hand, the projections are that they will increase, and certainly the number of people with hidden hunger is very huge. So even if we meet calorie needs, we're definitely not meeting all the nutritional needs. And so I think Dr. Asi would touch on that aspect. We've heard from Dr. Sibanda yesterday about her vision when she spoke last evening, and the fact that the agricultural research that's happening in the developing world really needs to pick up, and there needs to be much more collaboration, and that it can actually drive the kind of transformation that is needed at this time. And then we will have Dr. Mahendra Dev also addressing this topic from his own perspective. He's, of course, the former director of the Indira Gandhi Institute for Development Research, and all three speakers are very well known, and so I don't need to go into very detailed introductions about them. So let's start with remarks from Dr. Lindiwe Sibanda, and then we'll go on to Dr. Elhaj Assi, and thank you so much, Assi, for joining us online. I know you connected some time ago and you've been waiting, so thanks for your patience. We were looking forward to seeing you in Chennai, but hopefully we will be able to welcome you on another occasion. So over to you, Lindiwe.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair of this session. It's good to come back as a panelist this time. And I know I did moderate, so I'm under pressure to keep to the time. So I will not do any pleasantries and go straight to my presentation. I hope it's being projected. So I have decided to come back and unpack what CGIAR is all about. There is a lot of talk about reforms, but why are we reforming? As has been said, we need to address the question, is CGIAR as the largest public funded institution fit for purpose? In line with Professor Swaminathan's vision of an evergreen revolution, is it delivering science, which is a multiplier of harvests? Number 3, is it providing for the well-being of farmers? If not, it has to reform. It has to respond to the needs of our people, to the needs of our planet, but most important, to our livelihoods, all of us, including farmers. I want to believe the best thing that happened in our agriculture narrative is the new narrative of sustainable food systems. For a long time, we were comfortable stopping at the farm gate. We talked about quantity. We did not even talk about the environmental harm, except people like Prof Swaminathan, who were always ahead of their times. But all was quantity, quantity, very little on quality, the nutrition density, and very little on the ecology, biodiversity, and the harm on the environment. So we are lucky, following the Sustainable Food Systems Summit, that's a new scorecard that we have to speak to. We also have the Sustainable Development Goals 2030. We have a scorecard that we need to be ticking on. So we've come up with all these new terms: regenerative agriculture, sustainable food systems, our planetary boundaries. But the bottom line, does our science act as a multiplier of the harvest? Does our science serve first and foremost the farmers who produce the food? So one CGIAR is a journey. It's a journey where we are under transformation. We have come up with the one, which means all our 13 centers out of 15 are acting and working under a new strategy, a strategy that takes us to 2030. We are looking at the integration of all our capacities, close to 10,000 staff under one roof, working together to deliver on a common strategy. We also have defined impact areas that we need to be evaluated upon, and that's what One CGIAR is about. We have a shared mission and vision. We have integrated our operations. We have an office in Montpellier that coordinates our engagements, and we aim to work at country, regional, and global level. And as I've said, we have one research strategy, and we have a global integrated partnership board, but each of our centers remains independent. ICRISAT has its own board, but in that board, there are 2 members of the global integrated partnership that will serve ICRISAT, and the same for all the centers. I spoke about the vision and the mission, which is very clear that no one center can deliver on that. We want to deliver science and innovation that will transform food systems, transform land systems, transform water systems in the face of climate change across all our 13 centers. Emphasis being systems transformation. Why are we doing all that? It's because we want to deliver on 5 impact areas. Number 1, nutrition, health, and food security. The chair started off by talking about One Health being a complex entity. One Health is embraced within the strategy because it's neither one or the other. We are now delivering on all SDGs. Nutrition, health, which used to be a bad word within agriculture, but as we look at food systems, we have to have a scorecard on health and food security. Number 2, poverty reduction, livelihoods and jobs. Number 3, gender equality, youth and social inclusion. Number 4, climate adaptation and mitigation. Number 5, environmental health and biodiversity. What that means is if you go on our website, of the current portfolio of programs that we are implementing, we have to have a scorecard on the impact we are delivering. Long gone are the days where we romanced with the science we enjoyed, but we now have to be accountable, and we have declared the impact areas. The key word is transformation. We're not doing science just for business as usual, but there's got to be change, and change has to be at system level. The 3 systems being land, water, and food systems. Now, you will all say that in the past you knew that if I post something like this, nutrient-enriched biofortified crops, you immediately put Harvest Plus because you knew where that came from. Of course, we will continue with that programmatic work. We will continue to look at the different initiatives and the technologies we deliver. But collectively, we are scoring against a common strategy. That's the only way we can move the needle in terms of deliverables. So I've highlighted some of the amazing work that has come from CGIAR. Some of our centers are over 50 years, and some are still to celebrate their 50-year mark. But the whole idea now is to move up to systems transformation and not just technology delivery. In terms of our work, as we highlighted yesterday, over 80 countries, but we've got headquarters in 13 countries where our centers have the right to operate, but also we partner with the different countries for the delivery of our programs. That just shows you where our 10,000 staff are sitting and where our centers, the 13 centers under 12 governance institutions, are located. You can see ICRISAT there for India, but of course you can also see the different institutions, World Fish, IRRI, IMWI in Colombo. That's how far spread out we are. Now, how are we structured to deliver on this? We have the System Council, which is chaired by the World Bank, which is the institution of funders that have an oversight responsibility. And we ask about, are we delivering? We need the resources. Currently, we are close to 1 billion, but we want to move that needle to 4 billion by 2030. We are receiving strong commitment because the work ahead of us is bigger than 1 billion. Even the 4 billion won't be enough, but that's the ambitious goal we've set for ourselves. From the System Council, you have the Integrated Partnership Board that oversees the integrated activities, because amongst the centers, they are working on defining what will they integrate in their operations, what will they coordinate, and what will they keep as independent. And the whole idea is to make sure there is efficiencies of scale, but most important, we score on the impact areas rather than protect our territories and say, this is my mandate, don't come close to me. We work in an integrated but federated fashion. We then have our Executive Managing Director who sits in Montpellier, Dr. Ismail Eluafi, excellent leader who was the Chief Scientist at FAO until we borrowed her out of there to come and coordinate this entity. She has come with a big vision, and she is driving the $4 billion vision. She is driving the new programs that will carry on as from 2025 in January to take us to 2030 to deliver on the Sustainable Development Goals. We have all the Director Generals forming what is called the Global Leadership Team. so that any decisions they make collectively with the executive managing director hold. And to me, that's the best thing that has happened in this reform. It's bottom-up, it's inclusive, it's owned by the centers and driven by the centers, and no one should tear us apart. If we fail, it's because of you. I say it's because of you because in most cases, the beneficiaries watch as observers. And I am saying, call it out. Let's discuss our differences within the House. Put your name and signature to an email and say, I don't understand this, and why don't you try this? CGIR is yours, and can we empower the farmers? If we are not serving them, let them shout out. If they want to be served differently, they have to speak out within the House, because this is a public institution meant to deliver public goods, so it is yours to build. Then on the right-hand side, you have all the centers that are part of CGIR, but as I said yesterday, we want to extend that tent. We want World Veg to be part of that. You can't deliver nutrition impacts without vegetables. We want agroforestry in there. You can't deliver climate without CIFO and ICRAF. So we've expanded our tent. We are already working with those in the new program, but joining CGIR is one thing, but we are creating a CGIR Plus portfolio where we will accommodate new partners that bring synergies to the work that we do. As we launch this new portfolio, we want to make sure it's anchored on delivery on the 2030 strategy. We've reduced from over 30 programs to just 8 programs so that you'll be able to coordinate those better. And we are launching this portfolio in January, but we are seized with working across our centers to develop what we believe would be fit for purpose in terms of science that is a multiplier of harvest. Now, what are those 8 programs? We have Breeding for Tomorrow. As we realize in this climate change atmosphere, we do not have the right seeds that are fit for purpose. So can we breed for tomorrow? We have Sustainable Farming Portfolio, number 2. We have Sustainable Animal and Aquatic Foods. We have Multifunctional Landscapes. How do we operate in different landscapes? We have Better Nutrition. We have Climate Action. We have Policy Innovation. And we have Food Frontiers and Security. Someone from the audience came to me and said they are working on food security for peace. I said we do have a program on that. When you unpack those 8, you will find that there are programs that are specifically addressing that challenge. Across the 8 science big programs, this is what we are calling our big mega programs, the initiatives that we will be driving from 2025. We are going to be partnering differently. We are going to work on that last mile, looking for partners that will allow us to scale. We're going to have accelerators, and those accelerators will be looking for impact in areas like gender equality, shared capacity, where the capacity building and big programs on youth participation, and also digital transformation as a multiplier of what we do. But we also have one key area, our assets. We have to protect our gene banks. We have to protect the infrastructure in our centers. So we have to make sure we budget right to deliver on this new portfolio. So if there's something to remember in terms of the new way of doing business, it's not the governance. Any governance that is talked about too much, it's not worth its salt, means something is wrong. If there's anything to remember, it's the science. How are we positioning ourselves to deliver on science? And this is the takeaway picture I want you to remember. I want to pause there and maybe just highlight that we are not stopping at programming. We are going to influence global processes. CGIR will be more visible on the global stage, taking the science to influence global systems. That's the only way that we will make a difference, but we will work at country level, regional level, and at global level. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Lindiwe, and wish you all the best with your amazing vision for CGR to really have impact. And I think the 5-year roadmap you laid out with your priority science areas is exactly what is needed. So I think we'll go on now to inviting Dr. Assi to give us his thoughts. He, of course, is leading the Kofi Annan Foundation, and I think my father was also very closely involved with Kofi Annan, and he invited him actually to do the first big review, and was involved also in the Millennium and the Sustainable Development Goals. And I know that you've been thinking a lot about global food governance. So over to you, Assi.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sumia. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, I wish I were there with you, for many reasons. One was, of course, to learn more about, the legacy of Dr. Swaminathan, and then to express also solidarity and then support, for the legacy, that is, being carried forward. Well, I did not know Professor Swaminathan, but I know Sumia, and I can say that, his spirit, is living on in many different ways. Through the work we are privileged, to share together in health, but also as a distinguished, member of the Kofi Annan Commission on Food Security that we're still, working on. So I've been there with you and in spirit, all the time, and I'm happy that we have now the opportunity to use technology to connect to each other. So you're right, Sumia. In many ways, Professor Swaminathan's vision and approach to the issue of ending hunger is very close to Kofi Annan's own vision. Kofi Annan championed many global causes, but few issues were as important for him, as eradicating hunger and malnutrition. Of course, globally, but especially so in Africa. His vision was one of a prosperous continent that can feed and sustain global food supply. For him, improving food and nutrition security was not just a goal in itself, but essential to building a peaceful, fair, and prosperous societies. Like Professor Swaminathan, he advocated for putting smallholder farmers, particularly women farmers, at the center of these efforts. And the little that I could follow in the previous discussions, I saw that very much highlighted and then supported by some of the panelists that were speaking. Unfortunately, we will know that despite the efforts of these two great leaders and many others, including experts assembled at this conference, we are not on track to reach Sustainable Development Goal 2 for a world free of hunger by 2030. Global hunger is still far above pandemic levels, pre-pandemic levels. The situation we knew, before COVID, and I'm speaking under your control, Sumia, is not any better after, the pandemic, or even in the aftermath of the pandemic that is ongoing. Conflict-related disruptions to supply chain for cereals and agricultural inputs are having adverse impacts around the world, and especially on food insecurity countries in Africa, the Near East, and in Asia. Just 2 weeks ago, and I'm very sorry to have to quote, statistics when we talk about, human beings, because these numbers and figures, do not take the reality, of what it means to go to bed hungry. It does not say a reality or the stories, of mothers who cannot feed their children or themselves, malnourished. It does not say anything about the erosion of dignity when people cannot access, food. But the best proxy we have to use these numbers, 280 million people in 59 countries experience high levels of acute food insecurity that threatens their lives and livelihoods. And therefore, they require emergency action as a matter of life and death. It also told us that food crisis accelerated alarmingly in 2023 as nearly 24 million people faced high levels of acute food insecurity compared to the previous year. In 20 countries, 130 million people are in a food crisis, because of war or protracted conflicts. Well, I had the misfortune and the privilege at the same time to have led the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, and then been in all those areas of conflicts, and then been all those disaster zones. And what is most heartbreaking is that to see the shame in the eyes of very dignified people who have to line up just to get a bag of rice or just to bring back food to home. So beyond everything that we are talking about, it touches to what is most important to people, and it is most important to all of us, which is simply put, our human dignity. And beyond conflict, and as was discussed at this conference, climate change is transforming food systems, which in turn are major contributors to climate change. We know that food systems account for 37% of global greenhouse gas emissions, and food ranks second only to energy in its climate impact. Extreme weather events are making it more difficult to achieve nutritious and affordable diets, leading to a rise in global hunger. This rise is a moral. There is no other way to put it. All the more so since we have the tools and knowledge to do away with hunger and to create more sustainable and resilient food systems. Doing so is not only a moral imperative, it could also produce an outsized benefit in trying to keep global temperatures below 2 degrees centigrade. How to reduce emissions without compromising food security is a critical challenge, for global food governance. There is also hope in the growing realization of experts that the blending of traditional knowledge with frontier technology, which Dr. Swaminathan advocated for, can greatly help us achieve this goal. For all these reasons, the Kofi Annan Commission on Food Security was launched in April 2024. It is comprised of 8 leaders, among them our own Sumia, and the task is to provide evidence-based recommendation by the end of 2024. So we would like to work in a given time frame and make recommendations for a renewed global governance architecture that is resilient, equitable, and sustainable. One of the fundamental principles of problems facing the international community today is international failure to adjust to the states of polycrisis, which the world is facing today. These crises demand a renewed approach to global governance and cooperation across the world. Institutions that were created back in 1945 do not seem to effectively reflect or address the world as it is today. So we know and we need multilateralism more than ever before, but do we need exactly the same multilateralism that was designed back in 1945, when the world has been changing and changing very rapidly. The Kofi Annan Commission is committed to exploring the possible models of transformation and reform to pitch solutions to this deadlock in food security provision. In particular, global governance must play a transformative role in ensuring food systems transformations are adequately financed on a long-term basis. The financing dimension is really key. And I really was happy, to hear Lunwe, talking about the ambition to move from the 1 billion to 4 billion. And even that, is a good ambition that we need to strive, for more. Is the financial architecture the way it is today, allowing it? Is it part of the solution or part of the problem? What are the other alternatives? How can we join forces, as she was calling us, just before me, to reach that? Food production is the climate frontline, yet only 2% of climate finance goes to agriculture. Responding to the climate and nature crisis, which are further exacerbating displacement, conflict, poverty, and food crisis, that requires a rapid redirection of funds. There is a need for climate finance to be better directed toward adaptation and mitigation initiatives that support food systems and enhance food security. The work of the Commission is still ongoing, so it is not possible to share recommendation yet, but some clear areas of attention are emerging. An increased focus on anticipation and prevention of food crises rather than just emergency responses. Sumia, that rings a bell for pandemic preparedness and response at the same time, no? The need to promote inclusion and equity and focus on the most vulnerable through strong investments in nutrition work, especially for women and children. Lindway, you're just talking about the last mile. Well, the last mile of our problem, maybe we should flip it to be the first mile of our response, and then start there where the needs are greatest and where it is hardest to work, and then where also I think the most vulnerable live. Equity also means taking a look at global and local trade rules and systems. The need to ensure accountability at the international, national, and local levels for all public and private actors involved in the production of food and access to food. The need to adopt a whole of system approach to food security governance and accept that food cannot be considered separately from climate and biodiversity matters, but also from social protection policies. And I really stress the importance of social safety nets, the social protection policies, as part of that response that we will have to look at. Now, we are partnering with many because none of us alone, as we know, can do it. We are very happy, to see that countries, like, Brazil is working very closely together, with us, in the leadership, of the G20, and also, learning from their own experience as we are learning from the experiences, that are going on right here now, in India. We hope that you will all support, these efforts, and we pledge also to join you, in your efforts, moving forward, and then most importantly, to carry on, the legacy and carry forward, the legacy of two great leaders, that have so much in common, Professor Swaminathan and Kofi Annan. Thank you so very much, and look forward to continuing partnering with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Asi, for being that very strong moral voice, that has been speaking out against injustice, and particularly in your previous role, I think you've been to all the most difficult places in the world and seen very painfully for yourself what it means to be hungry. So I think that perspective needs to keep getting brought back, and it reminded me that it was only last year at COP28 that both agriculture and health even had any mention. And as you rightly said, the amount of climate finance going to both agriculture and to health is pitifully small. It's practically negligible. And that needs to change, and so we need more voices, really pointing out what you just did. So we'll move on to Professor Mahindra Dev now for your comments, please.
Let me first thank Dr. Swaminathan for inviting me for this important conference. I had the good fortune of interacting with Professor M.S. Swaminathan several times in the last 4 decades. In fact, my thinking on some of these issues on agriculture, hunger, food and nutrition security, sustainability and climate change, shaped by his many of his writings. So I'll be talking on mostly on the Indian scenario, but applicable to many developing countries. What are the challenges and how the contributions of Dr. M.S. Swaminathan will guide for us in future policies. Of course, at the outset, I may mention that his contributions can guide the entire SDGs because whether it is poverty, zero hunger, health, education, inequalities, biodiversity or climate change, environment, etc. Of course, Evergreen revolution cuts across all these SDGs. So I have prepared a PPT for about 7-8 minutes. Basically, we have to change the narrative of agriculture towards diversification to agriculture, high farm incomes, and high productivity with less inputs, inclusive, nutrition sensitive, and climate resilient. Somebody coined it as HERS, that is healthy, equity, resilience, and sustainable agriculture. So, as I mentioned yesterday also, Dr. Swaminathan mentioned, technology is very important. We discussed in the previous session also. But it's only one aspect of green revolution. Because public policy, in fact, several times when I was chairman of the Agriculture Price Commission, I interacted with him. He mentioned that this is one important one, the public policy in terms of remunerative prices, the MSP and procurement. So I need higher MSP and procurement for other crops, like millets, pulses, and oilseeds. Of course, livestock and fisheries is another one. We also discussed the National Commission, his contributions, this for comprehensive cost for plus 50%. I won't go into the details. On sustainability and evergreen revolution, of course, Dr. Swaminathan appealed to the farmers in 1968 itself. In fact, he didn't coin that word, but he said this in 1968 that don't harm, he told the farmers, long term from green revolution to green revolution. And ecological concern, organic, natural farming, other conservation, but he didn't say that we should move entirely to natural farming or organic farming. He said integrated pest management and integrated nutrient supply. That means, for example, Punjab is having the fertilizer consumption of 300 kilograms. So we should reduce it to maybe 200 or 150, so you can't entirely eliminate and say we shift to natural farming or organic farming. So that's the approach, I think, his guidance to our policies, rather than, even the present government is gaga about natural farming. But you can't, what happened to Sri Lanka and thing. So it has to be a gradual one and reduce the fertilizer and pesticide consumption. Climate resilient agriculture, recent heat waves have reduced yields of many crops. In fact, Dr. Swaminathan spoke about climate resilient crops like millets, pulses, also varieties. Drought resistant or the flood resistant we discussed in the last sessions. And basically land, water, energy, common property resources and forests are some of the things that need to be sustained over time. So that's for climate resilient. Now, he also, one of his books, he said for stability and sustainability, there are 6 areas. One is, soil health conservation, and of course, water security he is to write more on that. And technology and inputs also should be in tune with agroecological conditions, socio-economic, and of course on technology, bioinformation. Of course, now he would have talked more about digital also. and credit and insurance. Of course, remunerative prices already I mentioned. He also talked about the WTO livelihood security box. Of course, WTO doesn't have powers now like earlier kind of thing. And lastly, the smallholders, organizing them into FPOs. So these are some of the things which can guide us. On research and extension, because for improving yields and also climate resilient varieties, you need more government expenditure. But India spends only 0.4%, while some of the other countries spend more than 1% of agriculture GDP. In fact, in the pre-budget discussions, we discussed with the Prime Minister of India and Finance Minister, but we didn't see much in the budget. The farmers' well-being, Madhura mentioned in the morning, the Situation Assessment Survey 2018 says that the average farmer gets 10,000, around 10,000 rupees in current prices. But she or he gets from cultivation and animal about 5,400, and small and marginal farmers, they get much less, around 2,000. So this is the farmers' well-being which has to be improved. Coming to hunger and malnutrition, people don't know how to define the hunger. I think Dr. Swaminathan defined, very well into 3 categories: the calorie deprivation, protein hunger, and hidden hunger. He also advocated from biofortification. In fact, we went together to Rwanda for a biofortification conference organized by IFPRI. But he also talked about naturally biofortified crops like moringa, sweet potato, and maize. What are the challenges in achieving zero hunger? There are 5 challenges, which are also true of other countries. According to FAO, there are about still 13% of population in India undernourishment. But second one, of course, still 35% of Indian children suffer from stunting. It's a kind of national shame. Our children suffering from malnutrition, 35%. In some states, it's more higher. And is anemia among women has increased from 53 to 57%. FAO says that, recent one, around 55% of Indian population can't afford healthy diet. This is true also at the international level. At the same time, obesity is increasing. So these are the challenges one has to tackle. As Lindeway said yesterday, that it is still a lot of work to be done to face these challenges. Because many healthy foods are unaffordable for low-income consumers. For example, one egg costs in Nigeria 44% of your income for the poor, and India about 16%. Pathways for safe, affordable, and healthy diets. We have done some work. It's basically food systems kind of approach, improving dietary diversity, reducing post-harvest losses, empowering women, biofortification, and food safety, use of ICT, etc. On social protection, Dr. Swaminathan was fond of this National Food Security Act, the PDS system. In fact, he used to mention several times this is an important one for the poor and vulnerable. He wanted millets, of course, pulses to be introduced. Also other components, drinking water and other things to be included in this. Last 2-3 slides. One is the farming systems, like food system approach. He advocated also farming systems, where the MSSRF also did Kutanadu example, where one crop of rice during monsoon and one crop of fish during non-rainy season. So this farming systems approach, now we are talking about the systems approach, so this is an important one. Last one is, of course, inequalities. Because inequalities are rising in most of the countries. reducing is important for reducing hunger and climate resilient agriculture. Inequalities among rich and poor, also the small and larger farmers. So throughout his career, he emphasized the role of women in development, protecting environment, agriculture, and combating hunger. In fact, hunger, malnutrition, climate change affects women and vulnerable groups most. Dr. Swaminathan also introduced the Women's Farmers Entitlement Bill in the upper house of the Parliament in 2012. The two is missing, to strengthen livelihood security of women. Lastly, Dr. Swaminathan, we talk about renowned agriculture scientist, father of India's Green Revolution, but he was also a development thinker about national and international issues. So his life and work inspire many people, including the youth. I hope Dr. Swaminathan's inspiration will guide all of us to achieve Evergreen Revolution, hunger-free world, and farmers' well-being. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mahendra Dev. That was wonderful, the way you summarized and took the lessons from Professor Swaminathan's work and how it's still so relevant today, really. I think many of the things that, as you said, he was far ahead of his time, and we have still not implemented many of the suggestions he made. So I'd like to request my co-chair, Mr. Edward Rajkumar from the SBI, as General Manager. We thank SBI also for support for our this conference. If you would like to say a few words, please.
Good evening to all. So I am very proud to be here as a co-chair along with Madam, the most respected Madam. We are very happy to be associated with MSSRF. So as of now, we are controlling Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry to help the farmers. We have 1,200 odd branches. We are having agri-intensive branches. There are 209 branches, of which we have our own field officers. We have 10 farm sector technical officers, 10 farm sector technical officers, around 28 rural relationship managers, and we have 6 agri chief managers to help the farmers. Just like you develop seeds and other things, we are also developing products like KSR, agri enterprise loans, to help the high net worth farmers, and also to help the small and marginal farmers. We have the crop loans. It's a very traditional product for us. In fact, we are giving a lot of agri gold loans to the stressed farmers to avoid the stress sales. So in all the way, we are helping out all the farmers of not only Tamil Nadu, Pondicherry, in the entire country. We are doing a lot of service to the farming community. We wish you all the very best. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think that you will all agree that this has been a fantastic session. I'm not going to try and summarize. We've heard from 3 world leaders on this topic, and really I think it all came together very well at the end and summarized very well the theme of this conference. We live in a world of polycrises, of course, but it also gives you an opportunity to solve problems, I think, maybe in a different way, in a more innovative way. And as Dr. Alhaj Assi was saying, that we don't have to be boxed in by some of the governance that was set up many decades ago and is not fit for purpose today at all. And I think in the last 2 days we've heard from many speakers over and over again that we have to cross these artificial boundaries. Yuba Sokona was telling me about the need for South-South partnership for scientists from the global South to actually understand the problems, to work together, but also to take our farmers and other stakeholders along. And this is why you would have seen that we tried, at least in many of our sessions, if not in all of them, to have a representative of a farmer or a fisher or a tribal person who's actually sort of practicing on the ground what many of us may be talking about, and they bring us back to reality every time. So we always try to do that. I think the challenge we've had is of language, and so I think we will try next time to see how we can use artificial intelligence to have some simultaneous translation so that they can also participate, they can understand what we are saying, and we can understand, everyone here can understand what they were saying, because many of the nuances were lost in translation. But still, it's very nice of them. They always come year after year. They've got the stalls outside. I hope many of you have seen their products. So I just want to thank everyone who's been here over the last 2 days. Dr. Hariharan will give a formal vote of thanks, and we will all continue to work together to take this vision forward. Thank you all. Dr. Hariharan? Sure. Now for the next year. Yes.
Thank you. Sir, please come. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Hariharan, go ahead.
Yes.
We can stay here, I think.
Yeah, you can be there on the stage. Yeah. Good evening. And as organizing secretary, I have the pleasure and privilege to offer vote of thanks. In fact, it's a long list. I will try to be as quick as possible. You will all agree that we have a very, very rich sessions and a lot of messages for our thoughts. And right from the day one, we have ministers from Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and also from Odisha joining us and really gracing the occasion. And around 60 speakers and 100 online and offline partners were there, joined us all through these 2-day sessions. And thank everyone for that. And specifically, I have to thank Dr. Swaminathan, Chairperson MSSRF. Right from the inception, she guided us, and we at every aspect, she guided us, and we were able to make the things happen this way. And the Board of Trustees of MSSRF, my fellow executive directors, Council of Directors, staff and scholars of MSSRF, and the farmer friends, from various parts of our country, FPO members, and specifically, to make the occasion more, flawless. We also, many state officials, right from the secretariat to the local level officials in the street corner, helped us to, make things happening. The Tamil Nadu police also need a special mention. They provided security for the whole thing. With respect to coordinators and reporters of the various committee, overall coordination, the secretarial invitees and event management, they took a very, very, deep dive into their work, in fact, late hours. And 1 or 2 people we missed, and it is only my mistake, and they have done the best. And I have to thank the Fund Mobilization Committee, Finance, Purchase and Expenditure Committee people, registration, online management, travel and accommodation, Food Committee. I hope things were up to our expectation. Conference floor management, backdrop floor, and there are several audio visuals, intra network, all those things were there. Publications, pre-conference publications are there, and we are also planning to bring a conference documentation and the post-conference publication as well. So in all those things, to many of the speakers, we will be reaching out and troubling you. Please bear with our reminders and share your public documents with us. Admin and support services were also, I should thank all the people associated. And participation of organization, we need to mention, make a special mention. Government of Tamil Nadu, Government of Karnataka, Government of Odisha, PPVFRA, NABARD, CGIAR, ICRISAT, Biodiversity, WFP, CEMET, IIT Madras, IUCN, ICAR, World Fish, ISRO, IHS, HIFA, FPO, farmers and knowledge workers. You can see the diversity of various participation of organization here. Financial support, a special mention I need to mention State Bank of India, Government of Odisha, International Rice Research Institute, Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, Jamnalal Bajaj Foundation, Haifa Groups, International Food Policy Research Institute IFPRI, PPVFRA, Protection of Plant Variety and Farmers' Rights Authority. All their logos you can find here. And with respect to outreach and support services, we had the services of Rubicon Sirio, and they are very helpful. And with respect to accommodation, many hoteliers helped us. Hotel Turia, Essentia, Institute of Mathematical Sciences, Hotel King Cross, Hotel Ginger, Samir, the NITTER. These are all our neighboring institutions. With respect to transport, I wish to thank SR Travels, Hotel Turia, Essentia, and others. And security and support services of MSSR have played also a crucial role. And if I will be failing in my duty if I am not mentioning the following names of my colleagues: Dr. Shivan Kalyani Velu, Jagan Shankar, Dr. Oliver, Dr. Ms. Dilara, Ms. Uma, Agustin, and Kannappan from IIT. All these people almost stood like a pillar behind me. They helped me and make everything a grand success. Thank you very much, my colleague, all of you. Thank you. With this, we can come to a close. Thank you.